Today, I want to talk about Pam Bondi. And the reason why is because if you have not seen it yet, Pam Bondi was called in front of Congress to testify about essentially what the heck was going on with the Epstein files. And when she went there, she had, I think what is safe to say, possibly one of the worst performances of anyone ever in front of Congress. She came off as completely unhinged in some of her rants. She came off as completely unprepared. She did not answer any question, and she just looked like a complete buffoon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump directly into a video that highlights some of her lowlights, if you will, just how completely insane she came across, and then provide some of my thoughts on what the heck is going on here. Hi there, pardon the interruption. I just wanted to make a real quick ask that if you are watching my content and you appreciate it, if you could please drop me a subscription. As you can see, through the life of my channel, 95% of the people that watch my content are not subscribed. So if you are watching and you find yourself enjoying the content, I would ask that you drop a subscription. Just, again, a really quick PSA, it would mean a lot to me. It really does help my channel grow, and it allows me to make this something that I can do for a living. So just wanted to take a real quick interruption, and I'll return you back to my video. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy.
Pam Bondi and her disastrous debut before the United States Congress.
Yeah, so she was there to testify and took a lot of heat, mostly from Democrats, but also significant heat from Thomas Massie. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what he had to say.
Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
Yeah, I already told you that. This is where he's listed as a co-conspirator.
Can I finish my answer? Come on, let me finish my answer. We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time.
Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out
where
of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
And we invited you in.
This
guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get, you're a failed politician.
Trump's derangement.
A failed politician, yeah. Trump derangement syndrome and a failed politician. I would say he's possibly one of the only politicians that is not a failed politician. Like, every single time I listen to this woman, I want to slam my head into a wall because she is one of the dumbest people. I've said it before, I will say it again. I'm not certain that just blatant, flagrant devotion to any candidate, specifically in this instance, Donald Trump, and covering his ass does not make you worse or at least equal to DEI hires. And so that is why every single person that is appointed, that is covering up, that is covering his ass constantly, I can't stand. It's all of the dumbest people. It's Pam Bondi. It's Kash Patel. It was and still is, I guess, although now outside of Dan Bongino. All these people that look like complete clowns when all they're doing is running cover for people who did inappropriate acts with minors. So, and I'm sorry because I usually do not get this wound up, but this is something where people need to be just, I cannot express enough how much people need to be outraged about this. Because if you cannot be upset about, people abusing children, literally, and covering for them, even if they didn't do it, like Pam Bondi, she's covering for people doing it. How are we not outraged enough about this? So when I am talking about this and when I am outraged about it, and the longer it goes on and nothing is happening to these people, it just gives them the green light that they can continue doing this sort of thing. And so every single person needs to just on everything express their complete outrage with this situation and the buffoonishness that continues to go on, where these people just lie because she gets called out. There is a difference between, oh yeah, he's in the Epstein files a bunch and he is explicitly called out for enabling and funding Jeffrey Epstein. And that is exactly, she pulls out his name in that one instance. She is running cover for pedophilia for the people who enabled and funded this entire thing to happen. And everyone needs to be outraged about this.
Derangement syndrome, failed politician. She had a whole binder that was her burn book with research on all of the members who'd be questioning her, specifically the Democrats, but probably also Thomas Massie, so that she could, rather than responding to their questions, say, oh yeah, well, what about when you voted for impeachment? Or what about when you did this? And deflect and distract and attack them rather than actually responding to the queries that they're making here. You know, another thing that I think it was Thomas Massie and maybe others as well that pointed out, Sagar, in this hearing is, you know, you were given a list of victims from their lawyers saying, hey, here's the names of.
And just really quick, yeah, on the burn book component of it, that just shows you that she's not serious whatsoever about actually doing anything and answering any of the questions. She just wants to have, okay, when every single person comes up and talks, I just have counterpoints against them. I'm not going to answer any of the questions. And this is exactly what came across in her responses. Every single one of, like, if you watch any amount of this, it's literally, she doesn't answer any question. There is no accountability whatsoever, and she needs to be gone. I don't care how it happens, she needs to be completely out, because it just, again, blows my mind. She should not, she's covering, once again, how are people not completely outraged that she is covering for people abusing children? That's like the bare minimum. That is, the bar is so low that you could step over it. If you are not upset about that, what are you going to be upset about? Like, what if it happened to your child, if you're a parent? Put that in your brain at all. What if this happened to them? And like, it again, even if you don't have children, do you want the United States to continue? Because this is what will destroy a country. Because no one has faith in anything that goes on. People get basically fed up with the system because they have no confidence in it. They throw their hands up. They say, well, what's the point of even voting? And no one cares about this country anymore. And that is the direct route that I feel like we are on.
Some of the women, the survivors that were involved, please make sure that these names are redacted. That email gets released. All of the women's names are there in that email. But it's not like they just missed it and like, oops, we didn't see this for redaction. They redacted the lawyer's name and left all of the women in there.
Yep.
So he really had her, and a number of them did, had her dead to rights on what a screw up and how almost it seems intentionally malevolent the way that they redacted and released these.
And even with Wexner, to the
no, it definitely was malevolent. There's absolutely no other explanation for that, because when they redact other things on that paper, and the explicit, as the bill was passed, as the law is put in, it literally called out that they could not redact anything except for victims. And so what did they do? As the only way that I can interpret it is as a middle finger to Thomas Massie and to Ro Khanna and to all of us. This isn't just a middle finger to them, because once again, they're doing these things to American citizens, to American children. These were children, most of them, at the time. And so when this is happening, this is literally a middle finger to all of us, where they say, oh yeah, well, you're going to make us do this? Well, we're not going to redact any of the people who were victims, and we're going to redact the people who are billionaires who we are protecting. Millionaires and billionaires who we are protecting. What are we even doing? Again, we are not outraged enough about this to be so callous and so flagrantly disrespectful of those people who are listed and who are, it's not enough that they were preyed upon and abused, but then, hey, we're not even going to protect their privacy. We're not. And the other thing, too, to think about this, what if you're one of the people who did something to one of these people, and you remember and you see their name and you go, oh, they're still alive and they're talking? Is that safe for them? Is it okay that they not only were abused, but now their lives are at stake? Because what is $1 million or $2 million to hire a hit on some random person, to a billionaire, to someone who you've already abused? Think about that for a minute. How is this fair at all? How is this even remotely defensible?
Extent that his name was in the files some 4,000 times. When you redact his name as a co-conspirator in the DOJ documents,
that's kind of significant, isn't it?
Unredact the names of said victims. Again, let's be very clear. As Massie pointed out to her directly, she violated the law. The law said you only get to redact national security and victims' names. That's it. Everything else needs to be unredacted. They violated the law on numerous occasions, and then even then they didn't do a very good job. So in some cases,
and this is where you just have to think, maybe it is national security. Maybe the CIA is behind it, because that is one conspiracy, and I can't even really call them conspiracies anymore. That is one thing that has been floated that would make a lot of sense, because, oh yeah, the CIA doesn't want to have to stand up an entire ring of these disgusting people again. They just want to keep going along with what they were doing before and not have any of these people taken down. So in that instance, yeah, it would be great to not let these people's names out as co-conspirators or people funding the entire operation. So yes, like, what other conclusion can you really come to? And so when you're seeing them taking out the names like this, like, I'm not going to give you charitable interpretations anymore. I'm beyond that. And I don't know how anyone, once again, I don't know how anyone can stand up for this and float any sort of excuse for this anymore. There is no more excuses.
I would look, a name would be redacted in one exchange. In another case, I would look, and then, the very same email chain, they forgot to redact it in this one. It's a clown show, the entire thing. What was even worse, though, is that Bondi is doing this thing where, all Trump officials, when they're in an indefensible position, what do? Attack, attack, attack. Except she, because she's on such indefensible ground, ends up looking like a lunatic. And the best example is this clip where she shreds the politicians for asking her about doing her job and is like, hey, the Dow Jones just hit 50,000. Why don't you guys care about that? Take a listen.
The Dow has shattered 50,000 for the first time. This is crazy. They said it couldn't be done in 4 years, yet President Trump has done it in 1 year. National median rents have fallen to a 4-year low thanks to Donald Trump. That's why they want to focus on Epstein.
No, it has absolutely nothing to do with Donald Trump. It has to do with the affordability crisis, and because no one can afford to do anything. That's called free market. And you know what free market does? Well, when people can't afford their rents anymore and tons of units are being left empty because people literally cannot afford to live, then prices come back down naturally. And guess what? That's what's happening. It's not because of Donald Trump. It's because companies have been so greedy and no one has reined them in that prices have had to come back down. So bravo for riding out the tail end of greedflation. I don't know how you can celebrate that at all. You have allowed companies to run completely rampant, and you can F off. This has nothing to do with Trump. It has absolutely everything to do with companies taking advantage of everyone. So touting this as we did it, no, you absolutely did not. And who cares about the stock market? Do you know how many people participate in the stock market? 90% of stocks are owned by the top 10% of wealth in this country. No one cares about the stock market, and you can shut up And you are not even answering the question that was asked in this instance. And it pisses me off, and it should piss everyone else off, because once again, you're stonewalling and you're not answering the question as it is asked. And so, once again, I will say it, and I'll say it after every single time that I comment, but you are not pissed off enough about what is going on.
And our most transparent president in the nation's history. The murder rate, as I said, has plummeted to a 125-year low, thanks to Donald Trump.
Well, and even that is a complete lie, because the major change is that large cities have changed the way that they report violent crime. So the numbers are down because they aren't recording correctly. Even Republicans have pointed this out. And so for them now to flip and say, well, the numbers are down, we're doing such a great job. No, you absolutely are not. Focus on the questions that are asked, not just floating some BS stuff that does not matter at all. You and everyone else are not outraged enough.
Well, the Dow has first of all, nobody said that it couldn't be done. In fact, it's not even all that remarkable, because as we learned under the Biden administration, great gains in the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones does not mean that you are doing well all that financially at a middle class level. But second, that is the level that they have been reduced to, is look at the stock market. And this has actually become a huge meme online, is, somebody will ask you a question, be like, hey, babe, did you do the dishes? And be like, the Dow's at 50,000, you bitch. Get off of my case. It's like,
don't you know the Dow's at 50,000?
I'm going to try that next time. You're wearing shoes in the house. The Dow is at 50,000.
How dare you?
How dare you ask me to take my shoes with rock?
And actually, the funniest follow-up to this point is that has been a meme that has been circulating, but then, and I don't know if people did it just to mess with her after this statement, but the Dow actually dropped below 50, and now the new surge of memes is, so we can go after all the criminals in the Epstein files now, because now it's below 50,000. So now we can actually go after them. So yes, it just shows you once again how buffoonish she is, how stupid these statements are, and how at any point in time, the stock market could absolutely plummet, but it has no real effect on the average person, the average American's life in general anyway. And so for her to come out and talk about where the stock market is at all in a hearing that's supposed to be focused on her ineptitude and the handling of the Epstein files, once again, you are not outraged enough about this.
Rock salt off in my house.
I mean, and here's the thing, though. I mean, she looks ridiculous to any reasonable person. The Dow thing was just utterly preposterous, but her response to all of them, just so performative.
Yes.
Having the burn book there so that she can have her little one-line zingers against this and that person rather than responding to their queries. It all looks utterly pathetic. But there's only one person that she has to make happy. And I think Trump probably did like this performance. I think that stock market line probably hits really hard with the president of the United States. And that's why it's in there. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if she was working directly, with his top staff and communications team to come up with that line.
Oh, for certain she was. And that's why that book exists in the first place is, Trump probably had his entire team go to her and say, hey, we know that this is coming up. Here's a list of all the things so that you don't have to actually come up with anything on the spot. Because if you have watched anything with her, she's not particularly smart. She might be the dumbest lawyer that's ever existed. Okay, that might be a little bit overstating it. But if you have listened to things that she has said in the past, she has screwed over the talking points of the president. Like when she said the files are sitting on, or the Epstein list is sitting on her desk. She's not particularly bright. So they probably felt we have to get ahead of this. And so here's a book, read from it, whoever is going to be, probably in like 4-letter sentences, talk about this. Because she's not smart enough to do anything other than that. So yes, it is undoubtedly true that President Trump's team probably created that for her, and it was very simple, and that's why she just hammered in on those certain things and did not stray from those talking points whatsoever.
Come up with the whole approach and all the, the burn book research and all the rest.
Yeah, I will say I had know for a little bit in terms of some sources is that the White House in particular is really taking an interest in comms for the whole administration. And so you can see this, right?
Yeah.
Well, especially Epstein. This is the most sensitive thing that they're currently.
Well, of course. I mean, it just makes sense, right? How many times has there been one talking point coming out of the DOJ and then another talking point coming out of the FBI and then another talking point coming out of coming from Donald Trump and then another talking point coming up. So like they have been at odds with each other constantly. So it of course makes sense that they're going to want to unify the message and not be stepping on each other's toes as they have been constantly
facing at a national level. So if this really is the best they could come up with, like why not just actually do your job? Then you would have no criticism to have to deal with. And every day that this goes on and this type of behavior, you are covering some major shit up.
And that's the exact reason why she's not just doing her job, is because it's covering up for a lot of very powerful people. And that would just collapse, I think, a lot of the government, the deep state, there are so many parties implicated that if she was actually to just do her job, that would create a lot of big problems. And just imagine what the government would actually look like if they were to round up every single person or how many very powerful people, like everyone who's implicated in that. Like imagine Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, probably, Leon Black, just all the people. There's so many people. Like I can't even list them all. It's insane. Elon Musk, like every single person who's even listed. All these there'd be a ton of companies that would have no leadership at the top. There'd be a ton of just so much upheaval would happen. It would be insane to think about. So that is why she doesn't want to. And again, just at the top level of who was behind it, right? If you're thinking about, okay, the Mossad probably, and possibly the CIA. Imagine the CIA gets absolutely gutted and destroyed because they get found out that they're behind it. Right? Who knows? But I'm just saying, if that were to happen. Or Israel. You don't think every single person in the United States would just say cut off all ties to Israel? And then what would happen? Everyone in that region would then probably attack Israel and they would be wiped off the map completely. Like, there are a lot of implications of if she actually did her job and released what she should release, well then, what would happen? Again, the amount of upheaval would be insane. Just at that level. Not even implicating all the billionaires and millionaires and all the people, Peter Thiel, all the people who were around him and probably were doing stuff, Steve Bannon, all these people. Forget about all them. Just at the country level, at the agency level, it would be immense. So that is exactly why she's not doing her job.
Just no other explanation.
That's right. And I mean, and here's the other thing. No one else is Trump. Like they all try to pull off the Trump mode and they just end up looking silly. But look, again, she needed to perform well for the president to save her ass and keep herself in the job. And I think he probably was just fine with this performance. Let's go ahead and take a look at, this was another moment. I mean, this is something I already knew.
And it's funny what his bar of good is, because I think anyone who watched it objectively, like even just those clips that were just played, no one can say that they think that she did a good job. She did awfully. She seemed like a clown. She seemed like a complete idiot. She seemed like she's just basically running cover for a bunch of people who are abusing children. That's what she looked like to anyone who is even moderately objective. So when you're seeing that happen, I don't know how Trump could think that it went well, because she's getting clowned online, but that, all he wants is, did you basically try and do the same things that he does, right? Where he just attacks people and he just ignores the actual question and he just kind of runs off in the other direction and hopes that people either lose interest or lose attention or whatever it is. So when you're seeing that, yeah, I'm sure he probably thought it was effective, right? But I don't know how anyone could watch that and think that it went well for her.
But it's just, it really is stunning that they're posturing like, oh, there was no other crimes uncovered here, nothing for us even to further investigate, time to turn the page, it's a hoax, et cetera, et cetera. Well, a lot of the survivors were in the room. And so Pramila Jayapal asked them, hey, did the DOJ ever reach out to you? Were you willing to speak with them? Did they ever reach out to you for any sort of investigation? And of course, the answer is no, because they're not interested, of course, in, accountability for any of the powerful men that are implicated in this. They're interested in trying to cover the whole thing up and move on. Let's take a listen to that moment.
To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand. Attorney General Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you sat before Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General Bondi.
No, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a specific question that I would like you to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors? This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions, the witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
That's
respond.
not accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she doesn't like the answer. So,
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't she ask Merrick Garland this?
I am reclaiming my time, and when I reclaim my time, it is
Mr. Chairman, the gentleman is
I'm
reclaiming her
not going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
Not going to get in the.
And this is the thing that's so infuriating about that. She won't even give them the respect to turn around and acknowledge them. She faces the other way. She doesn't even want to look at them standing up. She doesn't want to look at them raising their hand. She doesn't even want to acknowledge them. And to disrespect them in that manner, I think, is just absolutely grotesque. I mean, there's literally no other way. These people are repugnant. They are the most disgusting people possibly on the face of the planet. And I don't know how you possibly do not have any sort of conscience to feel even remotely bad about it. She just stone faces and continues on the script. Like, is your life being threatened that you can't even talk to these people? I mean, I'm sure it is, right? Because, okay, well, if you were to expose the CIA, that's their entire agency on the line, or the Mossad, their entire country on the line. So I'm sure there are threats against her that if she doesn't act in this way, then, you know, bad things will happen to her. So then how do you overcome that? And I'll leave that for each person to decide on their own. But there needs to be an equal amount of threat coming from everyone so that these people act in a way that is responsible. And that is the thing, is that there is absolutely no accountability for any of these people. And so when that is the case, we're not going to get any sort of justice. And once again, in the absence of justice, this will continue to happen over and over again. And it will continue to get worse and worse. Make no mistake, if they can get away with this, that gives them the green light to then increase whatever they were doing before. So all the files, all the things that you're seeing in there, the next time you hear about this, it will be even worse than that, tenfold worse than that, because they will have learned that they can get away with this and that there are absolutely no repercussions, no consequences, nothing. They just scot-free, they can lie to the American public. Like, why do people even tell the truth when they get sworn in and when they're brought to deposition? Like, why even tell the truth? Because you can just get away with lying. How can we trust any of these people to tell us the truth about anything ever again? And so that is the thing that should also be upsetting to you, even if you don't care about these women, even if you don't care about children being taken advantage of, even if you don't care about any of these sorts of things. Well, now they're just blatantly lying to you, and they're setting the precedent that, okay, now people get into office that you don't disagree with, and you're getting taken advantage of, and they're destroying your livelihood, and now they can just lie to you, just point blank, right in your face, spit in your face, and you can't do anything about it, and they will never be reprimanded for it. Is that what you want? So that is why everyone needs, again, you're not outraged enough. This is absolutely insane and unacceptable.
Gutter for her theatrics when she's saying, hey, can you apologize to these women that you've shown no interest in hearing their side of the story? And there you see Bondi trying to use her little burn book. Oh, well, what about Merrick Garland? Merrick Garland came up, by the way, a lot from her in this hearing.
Well, it doesn't make, first of all, the Merrick Garland thing is really stupid because Merrick Garland did not come in from an administration that said we're going to have total transparency on this very issue. Merrick Garland did not gather a bunch of influencers at the White House some 1 year ago and hand out binders that said the Epstein files part 1. Merrick Garland did not, Merrick Garland was not under the obligation to release all of this information. Now,
he didn't say this is all sitting on my desk and I'm just reviewing it.
Exactly. And I have the names of thousands of people and of the clients. Didn't she quite literally say she had the client list on her desk like months before this entire thing even kicked off, where they said that there was absolutely nothing to see here? So that's not on Merrick Garland. Now, should have other administrations, the Bush administration, Obama, Biden administration, Trump administration, should they have all done? Yeah, sure. Okay, absolutely. But not like we ever stopped talking about it at the time. But that is actually immaterial to the question. Now, you clearly did not meet with any of the people who were actually affected by Jeffrey. Can you ever think of a similar situation where you have people who are purported victims who have been unmet, but with the actual authorities in charge? These are the people who are supposed to protect you. Right. And instead, they're redacting the names of the people who are rich and who are powerful, who are directly implicated in this entire thing. So it was shameful. Her entire performance was actually one of the worst I have ever seen.
Yeah.
And on this issue, look, you're saying it's going to please Trump. I'm not. I just think, not even Fox News or any of these other people could defend it. No, but it's indefensible.
How did they approach? They just not talk about it?
They cut away from it.
Yeah.
Fox cut. So this is, by the way, extraordinary. In the middle of...
And that's completely damning because they have run along with all of the narratives that have been put out by the White House or whatever, any of these stupid appointed officials that have been just saying the most insane, unhinged narratives. So when even they are cutting away from it, that's how painful it is. And that's exactly it. I think just from these clips, and the entire thing was literally this exact same thing. Like, it's not cherry picking. You could pull out any testimony. There's tons. You can go look at all of them. She performs equally poorly in every single sort of exchange. Like, it doesn't get better from here. Because that is the thing, is that she's not actually, again, answering any of the questions. She's deflecting, she's attacking on something totally, I guess I won't say completely irrelevant, but kind of. Again, you're supposed to be answering how you have handled it. And no, she wants to go to, oh yeah, my predecessor. Like, yes, okay, they can be wrong as well. But why is it not being done right or correctly right now? And so when you're seeing that, yeah, you need to answer questions about it. But of course, she doesn't want to do that because she's running cover for Donald Trump and co. And so, yes, of course, Fox News is going to cut away because there's nothing salvageable about anything that she did while she was being questioned. None of it was good. And I think it's hard to say because I think Trump will be happy with the outcome. I don't think he will be impressed particularly with how she went about it or how she looked or any of that kind of stuff because the optics are completely damning. But at the end of the day, he's not going to care. And the other thing that I think is probably the most important is that he will not get rid of her because she continues to cover for him. Imagine if he puts someone else in there and then they have even a shred of dignity or moral in their entire body. She does not, obviously. And so if he were to kick her out and put someone in there that's not a complete loyalist, well, then that might threaten, hey, okay, we're going to actually start releasing stuff. And in that instance, that is a gigantic threat.
The day, nobody is watching cable TV. The only purpose of cable TV in the middle of the day is for live events, stuff like this. CNN and MSNBC and Fox were all carrying it live. As it started to go off the rails, they cut away to talk about, I don't know, Bad Bunny again. Yeah, right. But like for that is
like, let's interview Kid Rock again.
That is as tacit of an admission as you are ever going to get. From the Fox News network. All right, let's get to A4. This was another one. Her performance with Ted Lieu. It's unbelievable. I mean, this woman is becoming unglued, like actually unhinged. Let's take a listen.
Former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous.
And just her lead up to it, like, how awful are you on camera? Like, it's so performative and ridiculous and hilarious. Again, you look like a clown. You're not, like, the acting is literally like, I cannot believe, like, there's better acting in pornos. Like, yes, okay, that's a meme. I'm saying it as, but yeah, there is. Like, her acting here is just absolutely awful. She's, I guess, stalling to try and think of some sort of, because that's not in her playbook, so she can't just come out swinging against it. But she obviously is just trying to stall for some way to actually answer this and not look like a total buffoon. Which didn't work, by the way. So we'll continue, but literally her acting and just her stalling and her, she just looks, again, insane and just the dumbest, possibly the dumbest person. I thought Kash Patel was maybe the dumbest person, but maybe they're tied. I don't know. But they're both pretty awful.
Ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files...
I'm going to claim my time. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center because I believe...
And you can see as she thumbs through her book, what can I bring up? What can I bring up? Okay, I need to discuss anything except for this. She's a complete and total joke. Like, she's not even listening to his question. And that's why I said at the beginning, she has this book. They should just take it from her. Like, okay, come up with your own answers to these questions. Because that's all she's doing. She's not listening to the questions at all. She's saying, okay, how can I go on the offensive and try and attack these people? And if she doesn't have anything in her book, or she gets caught off guard, like that last answer, she sounds stupid. She sounds like the dumbest person. And that's exactly what you're seeing here. Because, yes, being a loyalist, you're not the most qualified person for the job. You're the one dumb enough to actually run cover for people who abuse children. And that's exactly what she is.
I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you, here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime. Look, again, I can only say you should all be absolutely ashamed that this woman, is in any way in power, and anything that can be, I wish I could say, oh, Lutnick and her and all of them should be held to account, but they're not. The one saving grace, if you want to see these people pay, is and I actually saw, I think it was Mike Cernovich who said this. He was like, yeah, these Bondi hearings, this is what it's going to look like every single day if the Democrats take power. And it's true. I've like, these people, every single person in the administration will be living on Capitol Hill if the Democrats take even just the House in the midterm. So gear up for a preview, because this is exactly what it's going to look like.
Well, and it got even worse after the fact. We learned something that is also pretty astonishing. Put A6 up on the screen. So,
and I would say at this point in time, it's almost a guarantee. Like, the economy was already bad, and I think that is the top level, what's the most important. But I think the more this continues to fester and happen, and by the way, with 3.5 million files, you think they've uncovered everything yet? Like, I made a video that went over all of the conspiracy theories and all of those things that have been proven to be true. But also, by the way, there's more stuff that has come out even since I made that video. And it was hard even to keep track of all the things that came out there. So the more this comes out, and it's going to live in memes, and when she is answering this way, it's going to get even more attention. It's going to be a Streisand effect, where it gets 1,000 times bigger, and the people who actually care about this and are completely outraged, like me, it's not going to go away. It absolutely is not. And because there's so many storylines that continue to come out about it. And I think people are finally starting to get just completely fed up with it. And I hope that that trend continues and ramp it up to 12. Like, we cannot let this pass by, because, again, you cannot allow people like this to get away with it.
So, lawmakers have been able to go in and view the unredacted Epstein files. They got 4 computers set up, and so you could go in and search. And Jamie Raskin did that, Pramila Jayapal did that, Thomas Massie, Ro Khanna. There were a number of lawmakers who went in to conduct their own searches. And it turns out, in that burn book, you can see here, this document, keep this up on the screen, it says Jayapal Pramila search history. And it has the list of all the searches that she made when she went in to view the unredacted files. More information has come out. It looks like they retained the search history from all of the lawmakers that went in to view these files, so they could use it to help inform her testimony here, and so that they could keep track of what exactly it was that lawmakers were interested in, and what they were looking at, what they were searching for. And I mean, this is this is pretty outrageous behavior to be tracking and surveilling them.
And this is the exact thing about that, because I saw one social post where it was like, oh yeah, it was complete coping. Oh yeah, this is 6D chess, and they're doing it so they know what they're looking for, and then they can come after them, and blah, blah, like, just completely insane, delusional thinking. That's not why they did it. The entire reason why they did it is because they wanted to find out how they can possibly fight against it, and in a deposition like this, where they can attack them on something that they may have looked at, but then also so that they know where they could get their hand caught in the cookie jar. And if you go back to the original one with Thomas Massie grilling Pam Bondi, and he's saying, you unredacted it after I called it out almost immediately, that's the reason why they're doing it, is so that when they get caught with their hand in the cookie jar, they go, oh, we unredacted it almost immediately after that happened. It's so that they know exactly what they get caught. Because trying to go through 3.5 million files is absolutely, that is an almost impossible task to do. Like, that's a huge undertaking. So when they're doing that, they just go, okay, what are the things where we actually got caught and we had to go in and unredact it? But then you have all these other files that you can just keep redacted, and then those people don't get caught for whatever they were doing. And that is the real reason why they are keeping track of it. It's not some 6D chess BS where, oh yeah, we can, we get them caught in a trap because they were looking at a certain thing and they were implicated in it and all this kind of stuff. No. It is literally to protect themselves and to try and go on the offensive against them. And obviously it isn't working out particularly well because Pam Bondi isn't getting any highlight clips of her dunking on people by doing this. And it just once again shows you how corrupt and how evil these people are, that they're trying to weaponize the people who are going in and trying to figure out all the people who they are protecting specifically, and then they're trying to keep as much redacted as possible in there. So if they don't have to, absolutely have to, because they get found out, they want to leave all those redactions in place and protect all the rich and powerful people and the absolutely disgusting things that they are doing.
In this manner when they're trying to view these files and hold the administration to account.
Yeah, and also it comes to a question of resources. It's like, that's what you're spending your time, your spy resources on what we're searching on.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, what's funny? Even with my own cynicism, I never once thought, oh, they're going to keep track of all my keystrokes that I type into the DOJ website for all of them. Guess I have to now.
Totally.
Guess we should all be doing this on what? I mean, I can't even DuckDuckGo or something and make sure they're on a lockdown mode enabled computer. If you're in any way, if you're listening to this, you're a researcher or you're somebody who's in power, this is not something, I mean, again, my own naivete never once was like, oh yeah, they're just going to keep records of everything that we're searching. Kind of makes sense though. Like all they have to do is link your IP address. Even if you're using a VPN, apparently they have ways around it. Maybe someday next week we'll talk about this Paragon leak because.
Well, and the thing is about this, I don't think the average citizen needs to be particularly worried about it. I don't think that's what it is. I think what the issue is that so each one of these representatives had to go on, like, basically into a room to view them. So they actually had to go to a specific location. So they basically were able to say, okay, who is coming in, who's on the computer from this time to this time, and then, okay, now we know what they were searching. They basically had that computer bugged or something in there where there was some sort of keystroke or whatever method they did to do it. I think it was on that specific computer. So what I will say in this is that I don't think it goes that far where they're tracking every single person that searches the files and what they search for, but I think it was specifically because they were provided with the unredacted files. So that was on a separate computer where they could access them. So on that instance of it, that was where they were able to track and keep tabs of what was going on there. So just as an FYI, I would not be as concerned. I don't think it's as big of a deal as he is making it sound here, as Sagar is making it sound here. But it is something that is still concerning that they were doing it to people in Congress who were looking at the unredacted files. And again, was just completely insane, disgusting. Like, this is why I am so outraged about it, is because this is completely disgusting. And these people are running cover for child abusers. And I don't know how that is acceptable at all.
I'm obsessed with this story about, it's an Israeli spy technology tool that was leaked, but just goes to the extent where Signal, WhatsApp, end-to-end encryption. I mean, the Pegasus stuff seems to be old news at this point for their ability to crack into whatever you want. But this is what they're using it for, is to literally measure and look at the keystrokes and the clicks of what you are, searching and making sure that you're pulling up. I mean, that is shocking behavior, right? Like using a unique link to spy on members of Congress. Once upon a time, we used to be very upset about stuff like that. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about some of the other little Epstein developments. Can we put A5 up on the screen? I don't know what to make of this, but we'll present it nonetheless. So The Ditch, which I hadn't heard of this website before, but they do some investigative reporting. So what they found is they gained access to Jeffrey Epstein's FedEx account, with records showing it was used for shipments long after his death and an address book that included a senior Israeli military officer, now considered to be a, quote, strategic consultant for diplomatic matters. One of the shipments was actually sent less than 2 years ago, and it was delivered to a dissolved company that owned and operated Epstein's private jet. They were able to find this from an unredacted password of Epstein's FedEx account. They were able to log in, look at the overall address book, but you have multiple individuals here where, first of all, it shows that the address thing is live, which, you know, again, we're always talking about innocent explanations here. Could be used by his estate or, you know, some of the other operators of the people who are like trustees. However, you know, despite the fact that he died in 2019 and they're using it as recently as summer of 2024, and they're sending products to all of these various different, you know, shell companies that were owned by Epstein, but the address book itself shows that at some point he was sending or receiving things from this senior Israeli officer. So just another crumb that we have over there.
And there's one more we want to...
And what I will say about that is, A, it furthers the speculation that he's still alive, which is a thing. People think that he's still in Israel alive. There's been a photo that has come out of him with a beard and, you know, but it looks strikingly similar to him. But even if you think that that is completely outlandish, you don't believe it, you don't think so, what I will say is, even if that is not the case, it goes back to something that I have mentioned earlier and I have mentioned in other videos, which is there could still be someone that, even if he's not, he's not around, someone could have stepped into his shoes. And the reason why is because this influence ring was way too effective. And so when you have something that is this effective, where it looks like no one's going to get in trouble because everyone is compromised with the most disgusting things, then even if the head of the snake gets removed, you instate a new head. That's why it's so concerning that there were 10 co-conspirators, that none of them are facing any sort of repercussions from this, because you literally just take one of those, whoever the most important one was, and you just insert them at the top of the organization, or you put in a new whatever it is. You insert that person into the top of the organization and you have it continue to operate in this manner. So when you are seeing this happen, and this is why I wanted to leave this in here and continue to cover it, because I think this is a very important point, is that because I saw this and I was like, yeah, okay, that's super important, because it shows you that A, he may still be alive, but B, even if he's not, there are still people operating using his same systems, using his same mailing, right? Using FedEx. Like, why FedEx didn't completely shut down his account when they find out that he's doing what he was doing? Like, what are we even doing here? So, yes, it proves, I think, undoubtedly, that someone had all of his logins, whether it was him or not, and they're continuing to operate this ring. Probably still abusing children, probably, you know, doing all, even if they're not, still doing all the other influence peddling that they were doing. And much of it illegal. Like, think about all the other things that they have done where they're causing global instability, where they're possibly causing the pandemic, where they're causing all these sorts of things to create instability to profit off of them. Is that a world that we want to live in? And so this is just a huge proof point in that direction, saying that it's still operating. That is why we need accountability, so we shut all of this stuff completely down. You are not outraged enough.
To put in the show, to put A7 up on the screen. So Colombia University Dental School is acknowledging that they admitted an Epstein girlfriend via, quote, an irregular process. And they're forced to admit this because there were all kinds of emails in here between, you know, Epstein or his associates and members of the, you know, high-level members of this dental school, where they're soliciting contributions. He's giving them hundreds of thousands of dollars, and very clearly in exchange, they're letting this woman, who is not actually qualified to be in this dental school, into the dental school. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and this was this was going on for quite a long time. There's all these exchanges about how they're easing her way in and she's not having to meet the requirements. They're like, don't worry about having to take the test, et cetera, et cetera. So, he was able to, and we also covered him, paying the tuition of the Seton Hall University, tuition for the children of the governor of the Virgin Islands. But Columbia University here, happy to take his money and let in whoever he wanted to get into their schools.
Yeah.
Just humiliating.
Well, you know what I put together is, do you remember that picture from the island with the dentist chair?
The dental chair.
With all the masks that were sitting around there?
The dentist thing keeps
there
coming
is
up.
something about dentistry and Epstein. I'm not depraved enough to find it myself. I've looked a little bit into it. I'm thinking, what do you think? Like maybe the nerve gases and their access to something like that, right?
I have some darker thoughts in my head.
Yeah,
but.
maybe it's literally about removing
And that was one that I ran into, but there just hasn't been enough uncovered about it yet for me to make any sort of inferences in there. There are some very weird dental things brought up in the files that you can tell they're not talking about actual dentistry. So there may have been some sort of, but they're talking about having it done on themselves. So it, again, is just very hard to know exactly what it means. Hopefully someone figures it out, but yeah, they definitely were talking about dental work in a way that was not dental work. So I'll just leave it at that. That's my opinion on it. But again, it's very hard given the context and what people have dug into so far. There's not as much stuff around it as some of the other bigger items that I have covered previously.
This is the issue with this story, is you really start to descend into the depths of madness. And you're like, what is true and what is... For example, with the FedEx thing, you're like, okay, the innocent explanation is his trustee, estate or whatever is using it. What if he's alive, right? And that's another one where you're like, I don't know. I mean, I would have given it, what, a 0% chance? Now I would give it a 1%
That was not a theory.
chance.
That one I really thought was like, oh, that's just kooky. Right. Like, no, he's not still alive. Right. What are we talking about? Like, oh yeah, and so is Elvis, It's, sure. And now I'm like, maybe.
Yeah, I would give it 1%. It's not 0. I'll give it 1%.
I would give it a higher percentage than that, because if you are not aware, his Fortnite account is still operational. And it was being played very recently from Israel. Riddle me this. How many people were playing on his Fortnite account that still had access to it? And then Fortnite tried to come out and say that, oh yeah, it was so funny because they did it on X. And so they posted, oh no, it's not, it's someone else, must have just changed their name to it. But then they got community noted on it. And no, Fortnite was actually lying. It actually was Epstein's account. And there was all these proof points that pointed to, oh no, it has been a long-standing account with the same account name. And because I think they do like a wrapped, like seasonal wrapped thing. And so then it basically, they were lying about it, which is kind of hilarious. But there are other proof points. And once again, I'm not saying one way or another. It could be that someone, again, that has stepped into his shoes, so to speak, has been using all of these accounts because they have access to all the logins and whatever. So again, I'm not 100% saying it's him, but I would put the percentage chance much higher than 1. Once you have enough points going in a certain direction, you can draw a line. And the line is pretty damning, in my opinion.
I'm more like 10 to 20.
Wow,
I don't know.
That's
and that's the thing, like you said, with the dentistry thing. You do start to feel like, because then you see the ocean port, you see the sulfuric acid, you see the way they talk to each other. Loved the torture video. Mm-hmm. All these weird references to beef jerky. Like it's like grape soda, pizza, all of it. And you're like, there's no way these people are hanging out together and getting grape soda and pizza all the time.
Right.
Or that he's this into jerky that it's like a priority matter that his assistants are constantly communicating with each other about. We got to make sure we got enough jerky on the island. But then you ask yourself, like, am I just, I don't know. But some of the things are so dark in there that you can't put anything, literally anything, out of bounds.
Yeah. Can I just read you another one?
Yes.
I know someone flagged this to me yesterday. Epstein, July 19, 2011, quote, said she felt God's presence next to her when she was in bed. She knows that Jesus watches over her and he helped save her life. Whoops. And then follow up to
Whoops
Jeffrey
is another
Epstein.
one that people are flagging.
It was from Epstein to redacted, then to from Epstein. You should dress up as him when you see her. This is like, I mean, you know, not to sound like a 1980s satanic, but like this is satanic, like literally. I don't know. I just.
And this is why I say, if you have made it this far, go watch my other video on all of the conspiracy theories that are basically proven true about this. I think there's 19 of them total. It's completely insane. And it was not really allowed to circulate, so you may have missed it, and understandably so, but the amount of just completely depraved things, and when you're seeing them say stuff like this, it is completely disgusting. It is inexcusable. Like she said, whoops. People have called that out, and they basically say, oh yeah, anytime there's basically a hit that just happened to, and they were talking about it, and then he says whoopsie, or anytime there were so many instances where he said whoops, that there's no, and it was directly linked to something completely awful happening, like this. Like, whoops, she shouldn't have told us that. Now we can take advantage of it and just be the worst of the worst people. Like, literally demons. I don't know what else you would call it. And I'm not a particularly religious person, like, at all. But, I mean, how else can you explain this? It is absolutely disgusting, and again, you are not outraged enough about this kind of stuff.
There's so much of it. The torture video, I mean, all the famous stuff. But it's like every other day, somebody will just send me one and I'll go, oh my God. First, my instinct is it real? Then I search it. I find that it is real.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, I know. There was did you see this new one about Leon Black that came up? It's an allegation from a lawyer about her, you know, the client she's representing.
Yeah.
Allegations against him. She says when she was 16 that she was raped by Leon Black. I'm sure he denies all of this.
Yes.
Put this out there for the lawyers.
Right.
That when she was 16, she was raped by Leon Black. He bit her on her genitals, injured her, that she was bleeding. They wouldn't take her to the doctor, and then they flew her out the next day.
So that was a 2023 lawsuit. Yeah, wow.
And I mean, I looked at the same thing. I was like, is this real? Look it up. Yeah, it's there. Yeah. It's there in the files.
Right. So, oh yeah, this is a July 2023 story. I actually didn't even know.
And you want to tell me.
She had Down syndrome, according to this according to the
oh my God.
lawyer. Yeah. Again, he denies it, you know, and will vigorously defend himself.
But and this is part of, you know, in terms of the cover-up, right? They're telling us there's nothing here more to investigate. Okay, why? Maybe you should talk to the victims and see whether there's anything. No, there's nothing to investigate. Okay, well then we need to see. You had a list of potential co-conspirators. When and how was the decision made that there was nothing chargeable here? That there was no there, that we don't need to pursue this any further? That's not in these files. That has not been identified in these files. So where is that documentation? Because somewhere along the way, there was a government decision that was made. We're not going to look into this any further. We don't think there's any there, or for whatever reason, we're moving on. Okay, how did that process occur? Because we don't get any of that there. Instead, we get, you know, redacted lists of co-conspirators that they have to be put on blast in order to identify any of the people that they were looking at. And then we're just told, don't worry about it. There's nothing to see here. No further investigations. It's just Epstein and just Maxwell, and there's no one else who's implicated in this massive criminal enterprise whatsoever.
Yes, that's right. All right, man, so disgusting.
All right, and that was about all I wanted to cover in this video. Once again, I mainly wanted to cover it for Pam Bondi, but then I wanted to leave in the Epstein stuff as well because, number one, I think it's relevant, but then number two, I think people need to know and understand what the true scope of what is going on. Like, this seems completely insane, and it is wild to me that people are not way more upset about it than what we're seeing. You would think if we're seeing all these riots, you know, uprisings for things like Black Lives Matters, like anti-ICE protests, like the Elon Musk protests, all these sorts of things. Why would you not see it for this as well? And 100 times bigger. Because this is 100 times worse, in my opinion. This is the worst of the worst. I don't know how anyone can not be upset about what is going on here and just how disgusting and how depraved these individuals are. Like I said, and I'm not religious at all, but these people are demons. And there's no other way to think about this. Like, how do you get to this level of detachment and just repugnant behavior? Like, I can't, there's no other way. There's no explanation. And so that is why I felt like I wanted to make this video. Was, like I said, Pam Bondi is just a joke, but then also this Epstein thing needs to continue to be covered. Anyway, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.